never had someone with a guitar coming in before. What's going on, people?
Hello.
It's the Mad True Podcast. How you doing? You alright? I mean,
I'm not bad, to be fair, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, today's the day where it's the obligatory go out and vote, and it's the Go Vote podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know much about politics yet, but I think Boris looks a little bit like a cheese string with dementia.
To be fair, I read both manifestos, and I think the important thing is, like, depending on whoever you vote for, as long as you vote for what you think is the right thing, then that's...
Yeah, but how do you know what's the right thing?
I think you just have to be independent in your research. So it's more like, rather than focusing on what people are saying in terms of, like, you know, the news, because obviously certain people are newspapers and vice versa, just do your own independent thinking. That's the beauty of democracy, because you have the ability to do that, and unfortunately quite a few people don't do that.
Thanks, ancient Greeks. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Appreciate it.
Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, what if you can't be asked to do the research, though? I mean, people like me...
I mean, in the nicest way possible, it's your own fault. I think there's a lot of websites as well, especially when it comes to, like, political parties and things like that break it down now. So it's very... I know it's not, like, simple things, like, when it comes to the policies, but they try their best to break it down as simple as they can, so then therefore you can be as educated as you can without putting as much effort as you would have.
I know I can say that Boris looks like a cheese string with dementia, and I can say that Corbyn looks like he should be on a pirate ship somewhere selling fish fingers to emaciated children, but
that's how he got his fame. That's how he got his fame.
Really?
He was the guy from
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, I know you're not meant to judge a book by its cover, but what else are you supposed to do when you can't read? You know what? I've been practicing that joke for like 2 hours. I came up with it earlier. I mean, was like, this is perfect.
It was perfect.
This is the one.
Perfect. Like, the execution, brilliant. 10 out of 10. Good job, man. Good job.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I said to you off air a minute ago, you're someone whose music, from what I've heard of it anyway, I just listened to like the couple of things you put on Spotify and that. It sounds very sort of upbeat, optimistic, sort of like Bon Iver if he was less depressed.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Thanks for that, first and foremost.
No worries.
I think it's... I don't tend to view it as uplifting or anything like that. I know it sounds weird coming from... Obviously, it comes from my brain. Like,
comes from your soul.
Comes from my soul.
Comes from your magnificent beard.
Oh, I grew it myself, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think it's more... I don't ever, when I go writing a song, I don't ever sort of sit there and go, I'm going to write about this topic, or I'm going to write about this topic, or I'm going to write about, like, you know, how someone should feel. I just write what's relevant to me at the time. So the new CD that I'm working on, which is going to have Romeo, one of the songs I've got on Spotify.
Yeah, that's my favourite part.
Thanks, man. And obviously, like, you know, What Comes Next and Whiskey, which are the 3 released songs that I have now. They were all written at such different times in my life.
Yeah, What Comes Next sounded like it was about your dad, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit what that was about?
So I lost my dad back in 3 years ago in October. It was 3 years in October, and basically for me it was... I didn't enjoy a lot of things when I lost my dad. I mean, I gave up music to care for him. Not that that's a bad thing. Obviously, any person would do that for a family member. But I think for me it was, how do I then venture back into the world of music without forcing myself? Because the one rule that I have when it comes to anything music related or anything sort of hot, like passion or hobby related, is the moment you stop enjoying it, then just stop, just take a break. And with What Comes Next, it was, I'd spent so long trying to find like a way to cope with obviously losing dad, and the question that I kept asking myself was, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, like, what does come next after losing a parent? What is the lesson that you learn? And the lesson that I got from it was that it's as cliched and as corny as it sounds, is that, you know, that is something that everyone has to go through. And I think there is no direct right answers to, you know, what comes next. That's the beauty of the song, because people can interpret it in different ways. Like, you know, for one person it may be, you know what, they lose a parent, they're going to write a bunch of music. For another person, it's, for a painter, they're going to throw themselves into their art. For people,
totally.
Like, you know, it's...
I don't think it's corny or cliche at all. I mean, I feel like that's the purpose of art and creativity, you know, and that's what largely this podcast is about, and Mad Truth in general, is like the ability of art and creativity to not only overcome trauma and overcome difficult times in life, but also to fill in the gaps. Almost.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it is that. I think it was just me filling in the gaps of...
So if there's something within you that, I mean, especially with me, like I've sort of, the kind of catalyst for me starting this was loads of sort of mental health issues and sort of depression, sort of difficult times in my life, right?
And giving, I get it. Yeah.
My solution to that, or part of the, you know, a big way of overcoming that sort of traumatic period, was through creativity. So if I could write a song, or if I could do some, you know, some visual art or some poetry, or, you know, and I think in this world of ones and zeros that we live in now, you know, where everything's becoming increasingly commodified and everything's
very
becoming...
binary. And...
and it's, you know, I mean, there's a space for spontaneity and kindness and tenderness, and that's what I hear a lot in your music, you know, it's just sort of emotion that's sort of raw and uncompressed, and
I think for me it was...
And also the joy in trying to see the light at the end of a shitty situation, maybe.
Yeah, and I think for me that was the bottom line of it. I mean, there's songs that are on the EP is titled, you know, Dance in the Rain. That's the name of the new EP when it eventually comes out. But like the title track on it is called Dance in the Rain, and it is that. Like, for example, there's a verse of it where it's just like the verse is repeated, but I think the first line is like, let's see if I can figure this out. Oh, hello, I'm in the wrong chord. There we go, that's one. I know you're having a real rough time right now. Glass half empty, living a life with a frown. And when I was writing stuff like that, it was, I was talking to myself. I was like, I'm accepting that I'm going through a rough time. I'm accepting that I've got to eventually sort of, you know, process this. And then there was a great moment where it was like, I sort of sat there and of all the bad stuff that went through my life, like, because I've had so many good stuff, I can't complain. Yeah. But there was a real sort of, because I'd had that riff for ages, that, you know, having a real rough time right now, but I couldn't figure anything to sort of connect it to, and I was like, I was forcing it. It was that thing, is that if I'm forcing it, I shouldn't be doing it. And I was just sat there going, like, you know, playing this riff over and over.
There's this Charles. Do you know Charles Bukowski, American poet?
No, I don't.
He had that thing. I can't remember what it was now. What was it? It was like it's something like until it dies or it dies in you.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, so it's like,
just sort of
that's
like,
really gonna bother me now.
It's bugging me. I don't know if that's the right quote. I don't know. If
I know what quote you're getting. Yeah, I know what quote.
But it's sort of like, you know, if it's not coming naturally,
yeah,
you know, if it's not going to take its natural course, then there's no real point in trying to force it. You know, it's like, so are you someone that sort of finds yourself going through maybe like writer's block or creative blocks or blocks in any sort, and then you just leave it for a bit and come back to it later? I
mean, I'd be a liar if I was to say that I didn't, because
everyone does. Can we talk about sort of I'm really interested in sort of the mythos of creativity, you know? Okay. I'm really interested in sort of how everyone has this sort of romantic image of an artist, where you sort of, the first thing that you sit down to write, so you've got your guitar there, the first you strum a chord and it's like Nevermind or something, and then you end up killing yourself at 27 and everyone like thinks you're a legend forever. You know,
I mean,
it's not like for the 99.9% of people, except for the couple of iconoclastic people across history. There's been like 4 of them, you know.
I think it's in terms of like creativity,
and ultimately that's not healthy.
Yeah, it's not exactly. And I think it's with for me when it comes to creating something like the bottom line is I have to A, want to create something, and B, enjoy it, and it's not forced. And there was like coming back to obviously like the Dance in the Rain as a song, like because I had that first intro bit, I just sat by the wayside for ages, and I couldn't figure anything. And I've noticed that for me, when it comes to me writing a song, I won't write a song. I won't sit there and be like, no, like literally sit there for 2-3 hours and write a song. I can't do that. I will have snippets. I will have little fragments of like a phrase or something like that. And there was a phrase that was saved on my phone back in 2014, which was, it kind of became almost like a life motto for me to cope with everything that was going on. It was like, you've won all of your battles so far, so like go and win one more. And it was that, like, of all the bad stuff that's happened, I'm still stood here, I'm still standing, I'm still sort of
so much, yeah,
like
100%
there. So then I was sort of sat there going, you know, having a real rough time right now, and I was like, you've won all your battles so far, so go and win one more. And I was like, that's it, that's
the one, yeah.
But that little phrase, you know, you've won all your battles so far, so go and win one more, was 2014. It was
it's a good line.
Snapshot. Thank you. It was a snapshot of how I was feeling at the moment. And I think what happens is like we have a finite amount of emotions. Like, so you're not just going to feel sad once. You're going to feel sad so many times throughout your life
in a different way.
In a different way, definitely. But the core value, the core understanding of that emotion is still there. So it's like if that snapshot, as it were, is applicable to some,
I don't know about that, you know. I mean, you say that we've only got a certain finite number of emotions. I mean, if you
I mean we have a finite understanding of emotions.
Okay,
that's
all right,
what I mean.
yeah.
Like we have like a list of emotions that only we can
anger,
feel.
sadness, guilt, grief. Yeah,
it's that understanding that sort of like you can categorize being sad in so many different ways.
Yeah, you can put that into a box of sort of like an archetype.
Yeah,
you can...
but everyone has that. Everyone understands if you're sad, you're sad. Like, and I know it's very.
Do you want to give us a little minor chord sequence to emphasize the sadness?
Just
we're all sad.
Or just do the Jaws theme tune. For Dread.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back on the podcast.
Safe to go back into the water, into the podcast water.
Yeah, this is what I do, you know. I sort of go off on these mad tangents.
I'm the same.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I am. And the thing is, but I write all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't write songs all the time. I
should
ideas.
do that, but I'm lazy, so I don't.
Yeah,
I sort of, if I get some inspiration, I mean, with me, what personally happens with me is I get this sort of, I go through a really sort of dramatic situation, and then sort of 2 or 3 weeks later, I'll sort of be in the aftermath,
in the aftermath
stewing in it, and then something will come out, you know, whether that's a poem or a song or whatever it is.
It's interesting that a lot of people do that when they go, oh, when you write music, what do you do? Like, how do you do it?
How do you do it?
A load of people go, actually, you know what? You know, if I'm sad, like a lot of people assume, okay, you know, I've processed it. It's been about 2 weeks since said event or whatever, and then I'll sit down and write an entire song. No, that's not how it works for me. I'll sometimes just sit there and I'll have like a riff, like another song, which is called Sand. I just had that riff for ages, and I would just play that. I didn't think it'd ever turn into a song.
Sounds nice.
But like it never turned into a song before. Like, and in terms of, there's no right way to write a piece of music. There's no sort of structure of like every single person does it differently. Me, sometimes I'll find the riff that I'll just play for ages and think, you know what, I want that to evolve. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll just find a phrase, like I did with obviously Dance in the Rain. I had that one line where I was trying to deal with Dad, and then that line from 2014 which merged together.
So what made you want to be an artist originally?
So it's quite a complicated backstory. It's quite funny. I originally wanted to be an actor. That was sort of my go-to. I love drama. I studied drama, but I never did music. I never studied music, like in terms of like at uni or at sixth form.
You could play a good Victorian gentleman.
I thought I could. Here's the thing. But I actually went and did I went to theatre school, so I went to a drama school on Saturdays.
How was that? Because I did a bit of acting in my time.
It was all right.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Go ahead. Yeah, Go ahead.
So I was seriously, because my mum used to be an actress, right?
Okay.
And
nice.
she was like, from the very early age, she was like, Casey, you're a really good actor. And I was like, okay, I believe you. And then I sort of went around in my life thinking I was good at acting. And then I went to like a college open day at NCN, right, at Clarendon, which is ages away.
Yeah.
And sort of went in this acting workshop. And within 5 minutes, we were separated into two groups of wizards and fairies. Right. And it sort of became like a Lord of the Rings style war. Between the factions of the wizards and the fairies. And I'm pretty sure I was a fairy, and I just thought, right, well, I've come here, I'm emasculated enough as it is. I'm going to leave now. I just walked out. I was like, it's not for me.
It's not for you. And the thing is, it's not. And that was kind of what it was.
But I really respect the craft of it. You know, if you watch if you watch like The Godfather, right, and you see like Al Pacino go from, you know, what he is at the beginning to what he is at the end, you know.
It's such a character development, and I think that was it with me. Like I went to drama school, and I on Saturdays, and there was 3 classes. There was singing, there was acting, and then there was dancing. Yeah, they were the 3 sort of classes during
the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity, as it were. And I distinctly remember I got given a part. I did the whole, headshots, everything like that. Got signed onto some acting books, and I got given a part in a film called Bronson.
No way.
Yep. So
I love that movie.
Yeah, so at the start of the film, where it's chronologically like his life, and it shows him at school and stuff. I'm one of the kids in the school.
Really?
Yeah. It was a full day of shooting. It was filmed in somewhere in Nottinghamshire. I can't remember. I remember getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like 11 at the time, and I went and filmed. We filmed it took a whole day of filming, and I got paid 50 quid. And I was like, win. 11 years old, 50 quid feels like winning the lottery.
Did you ever meet Tom Hardy?
I did.
What's he like?
Lovely man. Absolutely salt of earth he is. He was such a nice dude. And I distinctly remember we would coming back from it. And I remember going to a lot more auditions. And I remember going, you know what? It was auditioning for a musical. I can't remember what it was. Nothing major, just like a standard like musical in Nottingham, like not a big budget or anything like that. And I remember thinking I prefer the musical side of this to the acting side of this. So
Why?
I don't know. I just connected more. I didn't feel as awkward doing the musical thing. Like I
would feel much more awkward doing the musical
that's what I thought. I thought I'd feel more awkward doing the music thing than the acting thing. But no, I gravitated it.
That's really interesting.
But my grandma was a music teacher.
Oh, okay. So that's where you got the music from.
Yeah, and my mum has musical tendencies as well. And then I was like, okay, so I never learned an instrument. And my brother, who's 5 years older than me, basically he started taking guitar lessons, I remember, and he had an acoustic guitar at home, and he'd go to so he'd get home later than I would from school.
Right.
So for the 2 hours that he would have, that he would be out, I would sneak into his room and I'd drop his acoustic guitar, and I'd picked up the guitar one day and I was like, what does this mean? Like, what do all these strings do? Like, what does this body do, and vice versa? That sounds really bad out of context, but you know what I mean. The guitar body, not my body. And I just started playing, and I would just.
What did you start with?
I think the first ever song I learned was "Hear You Me" by Jimmy Eat World.
Never heard it.
Never.
Would you give us a little bit?
If I can remember it, like. I think it was So I don't know theory at all.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know much. You sort of know what chords go with what chords, what shapes go with what shapes.
And you sort of... I think the first thing I remember learning was I just had this... There's no one in town I know. You gave us some place to go. I never said thank you for that. Thought I'd get one more chance. So what would you think of me now? So lucky, so strong, so proud. Never said thank you for that. Now I'll never have a chance. May angels lead you in. Hear you, me, my friends. On sleepless roads, the sleepless go. May angels lead you in. So yeah, it was
cool. Yeah,
it was really simple, and I remember my mum and dad. My mum and dad.
And you started with the bar chords and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my mum and dad came in.
A lot of people struggle with bar chords for like 20 years.
This is the thing. There's a reason why. And because my brother was getting his guitar lessons, my mum came in and she heard me sort of trying to desperately, find a way.
Please.
I was like, please, my fingers are bloody.
Why aren't our Jimi Hendrix yet?
I know. I'll go there one day. I've been practicing for 10 minutes. I should be better by now. And she basically signed me up to go do these lessons. But this woman had a waiting list of about 2 months before I could start the lessons. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So I waited for 2 months. So in those 2 months, I kind of learned the basics. But I learned something which isn't stereotypical guitar, according to this woman. I watched a lot of Hendrix and I also watched a lot of John Mayer.
Okay.
When I first started out, and I did something called the Hendrix chord, which is hanging your thumb over the low E. And so I would, have that. I have the ability to sort of latch my thumb over the low E when I'm
which people don't know is sort of like a substitute for bar chords, right?
Yeah.
So it sort of frees your pinky up to do some like.
Because I can then bring my pinky up but having that thumb being able to sort of almost play the bass note is apparently not bog standard. And so I went 2 months later, obviously after practicing, having these chords down and things like that, I went to this woman and I sort of sat down. Bearing in mind I watched Hendrix do this, Mayer do this, critically acclaimed guitarists, some of the most famous guitarists in all the world. And she basically sat me down. She's like, okay, started the lessons and vice versa. And she saw I was doing the signal with my thumb. And she goes, you can't do that. And I was like, why? I was like, why can't I do it? She goes, because your thumb needs to be laying like straight on the back of the fretboard. It can't come round. And I was like, why? She goes, because it's technically wrong. And I was like, right, so you're telling me that Hendrix, Mayer, Clapton, all these famous guitarists are playing guitar wrong? She goes, yeah, they don't play it correctly. It lasted for about half an hour in that lesson. At that point, I was like, no.
See you later.
It didn't go back. Because if somebody is telling me, like guitar as an instrument is feel. Like it is. Any instrument is feel. Like you play how you think works well. There's a great thing that Dave Grohl said. There's a great interview on YouTube where he views a guitar not as a guitar but as a drum kit.
I've seen it,
yeah. And like the high notes are the snares and these are the toms and the kicks and
do you see it like that?
I don't know because I'm not a drummer, but I view guitars
do you look at it as a guitar or do you look at it as like a conduit to the spirit world, or do you see it as
I think it's both. I think sometimes if I get like a really nice riff, like I try and play on it, and like famous guitarists, blues guitarist B.B. King is the king of feel. He is the
king of feel.
He is a blues legend, and quite rightly, he plays a 3-note solo, but in that 3-note solo is everything compared to somebody who's shredding up and down on a riff.
So what is that, do you think? Why is it that B.B. King can play 3 notes and it's the most amazing, incredible thing in the world, feel. And somebody can play some mad...
Because I think it's linked, I think a lot of people sort of link it to sort of going, if you can be technically good at guitar, brilliant, you can be technically good at a guitar. But if you're not invested in it, then it just feels great.
To what extent is sort of, because I'm someone that is sort of, I'm getting better at it now, but I always sort of struggled with like confidence a little bit. I always sort of was doubting myself, and I was sort of doubting my ability to. And I've seen you, man, like on stage, like in a couple of videos in front of like loads of people.
Yeah.
Smashing it, bro, smashing it. And I'm like, you know, I asked someone called Connor Pearson this. He's a singer-songwriter, and I'm endlessly fascinated with it. You know, to me, there's something about, and I've done it a couple of times, like open mics and that, not enough. And I want to do some more of it in the new year, but there's something about performing that's getting on stage and going, this is me, this is the whole of my heart, my soul, my being, you know, and there's an incredible sort of vulnerability in that, of sort of being able to stand up in front of a load of people with you and your instrument, whatever it may be, you know, whether it's your voice, but at the end of the day, it's an authentic expression of you and who you are, right?
I think I agree to an extent. I think for me, I don't know what Connor Pearson says, and again, the great thing about this is it's subjective to each individual. But when I get on stage and I'm playing to, like, I played to a show like to 2,000 people, like in July, I think it was July or August, at the Coventry Student Union Ball. They're basically the end of term, and I was supporting artists like Sigala and like, you know, big people.
Totally, yeah.
But I remember stepping out, and I think, you know what? Like, yes, I can sit here, but my job as a musician, especially when I'm on stage, is to show the crowd a good time. And the thing is, you need to connect. And I think the problem is, like, you very kindly said that I was smashing it in the video that you saw.
You were,
but I don't think it's that. I think the difference is between, like, because yes, you can be you can be the best guitarist in the world, but if you don't have an interaction with the audience, that's it.
Right.
And just because you have talent doesn't mean you interact with the audience.
Is there an element of sort of letting it all go and being in the moment then?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I don't plan my set lists. I have, like, for promoting comes to me and goes, you have a half an hour set list. I'll go, great, okay. I'll put songs that I know that I'm going to play in there, but order-wise, no. Never have an order. It changes every single time. And the reason why is I read the crowd. And I think if I start the set with a song, if I'm playing to uni students and I sort of want to go, you know what, this is a party, this is an opportunity for them to sort of cut loose, it's the end of day term, then I start with something that they all know and sing, and a banger. And there's nothing wrong with that. And a load of people go, oh, you can't play cover songs. And I was like, yes, but if I sit there and play, you know, oh, hello. If I go, and if I sort of, they're not paying. The crowd right now at this current moment are not listening. They just think, oh, another acoustic artist. But if they've had like one or two drinks, because they're uni students, so they're there. But if I go, her name is Noelle, I had a dream about her.
And already you're putting that swagger on that.
There's 4 or 5 people in the crowd that go, I know this song, and they start singing along, and they start to sway, and they start to move, and that's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, like, and then, so, you know, but I tend to do this, like, for example, if I play Teenage Dirtbag, which I play so often, you know that bit where it goes like, I've got to take this to iron. Before I get to that bit, I just break it down. So then I just talk to them. I talk to them like I'm like they're normal human beings.
What are you saying to them?
I'll just be like, you know, okay, like the rules
this
of
is
this
the
song.
song.
For example, first and foremost, I'll go like, okay, who knows the next part of this song? And everyone does, because everyone knows Teenage Dirtbag, so everyone goes, yeah, I do it. So I was like, so this is how it's going to go. I'm going to lead you guys in, and you're going to sing it. And the thing is, people do that. People do that all the time. They'll go, I need you guys to sing along. It's not that I need you.
Yeah.
Because I think the difference is, if I go, I need you guys to sing along, then they go, oh, I'm not sure. Whereas if I go, I'm just going to step away from the mic, and I'm going to leave it down to you guys. And it's almost as if it's like, the moment I go, man, I feel like mold. It's from night and I am lonely, lo and behold. She's walking over to me, this must be fake. My lips start to shake. How does she know who I am? And why does she give a damn? Your turn. I've got to. And then I just step away from the mic. And I let them do it. I let them control it. The great thing is, that's my favourite thing. Giving, because just because I'm on stage doesn't mean I control the show.
It is connection, and it's a joint experience.
Without a doubt. Any great show, one of the greatest showmen of all time, one of the greatest frontmen of all time is famous, not just for his voice, but for his showmanship. Freddie Mercury. Yeah. Freddie Mercury will control a crowd with just his voice. You'll just go, hey-oh, and they respond, and they want to respond. And the reason why is because he's not treating them like...
They get sort of swept up in this...
He's like, and he's not treating them like, oh, you're here just to listen to the music. They're there for an experience.
Are you spiritual?
Oh, definitely.
Do you bring a certain... Because to me, the link between creativity and spirituality is very, very deep and very, very intrinsic.
Yeah.
And I feel like, the creative force itself is the sort of be-all and end-all of everything, I mean, the start of the universe itself, to me, was an act of creation, not in a... Not in a Christian way specifically, but in a way that it was... in
a conceptual way, is that?
It's sort of. It's like it's sort of like all art really is sort of an application of a medium to a stimulus.
Yeah.
Or a surface to a stimulus rather. So to what extent, when you're on stage and when you're performing and when you're vibing with a crowd, to what extent is that connection an embodiment of the spiritual ideas that you may or may not believe in? I
mean, all the way through, right down to the core, from the top to the bottom of my entire performance, I try and tap into almost that sort of that spiritual aspect. And I think that when I say spiritual aspect, I mean that, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens in the world. A lot of bad stuff happens in the world. But if you allow somebody in that half an hour or 45 minutes to listen to the set and go, you know what, life's not that bad.
And that's the best thing of, if you go to a concert and you're really, really, really into it, then in some weird way you become part of this larger thing, right?
Oh, definitely. It's almost like one big organism. And I notice it happens a lot. It's sometimes like, I know it sounds really, really stupid, but I have no connection with those uni students. Like, if I'm playing a show to them, there's 2,000 of them. How am I going to speak to every single one of those 2,000 people?
That would be where my anxiety comes from. It's like,
but the idea
how am I going to bridge this gap that seems to be so big?
To put it bluntly, you don't look at it as 2,000 individual people. You look at it as one organism. So, for example, in my song Whiskey, I do, if you actually listen to it, if you actually listen to the bit where it goes, where it's in the recording version, it's if you listen in the background on that, a couple of Trent students...
That's how it goes, isn't it? I listened to it once.
Yeah, that's how it goes, yeah. But if you listen to it, where it's me going, come on, let me hear it, like that. But if you listen to the back, there's a bit where it goes, T-R-E-N-T, we are the Trent Army. That's the Trent Army motto. That's the Trent's motto. And every single student knows that.
A couple of piss heads in the crowd, gum fingers.
And they go for it. But the thing is, I've done it when I'm playing Whiskey Live. When I played Whiskey Live at that show, I was like, T-R-E-N-T. And that links them all together. If it's a chav, or if it's an emo, or if it's a person studying biology, or if it's a person studying media, they have that link, and that link is that they go to uni.
Okay, so something that we touched on before we started recording was sort of how it's election day, and we obviously live in these times that are very, very, very divisive. And I mean, you talked about sort of what you were saying being cliche and corny earlier. This is the clicheist, the corniest thing of all time to say that we are in divisive times right now.
To
say the least,
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, surely the answer to that is not going... I mean, I'm not particularly liberal or particularly conservative. I feel like all politicians essentially are pretty much cut from the same cloth, pretty much. You know, I saw this Labour ad yesterday, like, with Jeremy Corbyn stood next to some old woman, like, talking to her, and, like, vote compassion, vote Labour. And it's like, well, that implies that everyone who's a conservative is some kind of, like, reptilian basilisk, like, with,
yeah, you know. I know what you mean, and I think it is,
and that's not the case. And the thing that actually sort of speaks to people is not, you know, what separates us, but it's the things that unite us, like, you know, and art and creativity and music especially, man.
But coming back to that, do you know what unites everyone in the divisive times?
No, that's what I'm asking.
The concept of democracy.
Right, okay.
It's having that ability to, like, yes, you may have underlying different views, like someone may be a conservative, someone may be Labour, but the opportunity to be conservative or Labour is...
It's better than getting your head chopped off.
But that's what I mean, but everyone gets that choice. Every person is linked in some way, and that idea of, like, you know, every person in this country has the opportunity to vote in a democratic election.
Yeah.
That is them. Every single person at a gig is there for one particular reason, whether it be they go see a headlining act and they all enjoy the music, like, they're there to see the headlining act, or if it's somebody that's had to see a sport act, they're still there to see music. You're there to have a good time.
What is it, do you think, about music specifically, that, because I'm someone that, you know, I play music, I write music myself, and I'm an insomniac, right? So what I'll do is, are you? Yeah. Right, okay, so you'll know this feeling then. It's sort of, you go around sort of, and I would walk for, I mean, this is sort of a couple of weeks ago and I was really struggling with it. I would stay up for days, like days on end, sort of going mad with it. And I'd sort of walk for like 10, 20 miles or something, something stupid, you know, with music, you know, because it's like, there's something about music that is, yes, transcendent, and is also like a friend, and sort of, there's something very personal about it.
I think the thing with music,
it makes, for me specifically anyway, for me personally, when I'm feeling lonely, or when I'm feeling down, or when I'm feeling happy, or when I'm feeling energetic, or when I'm feeling I'll pick some music that will complement that feeling and be like, hey, I'm there with this other person that's from like the 60s or wherever, you know.
I think it's the ability to,
so it transcends time and space, you know.
Not even that though, it's malleable. It's like, in terms of, like, there's no wrong answer. So for me, music, yes, I say transcends,
unless it's country. Just joking. I love Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash is amazing.
A bit of Johnny Cash, but the choice in the reason why I think so many people love music and use music as an art form is because there's no wrong answer when it comes to it. It's having the ability to, again, that blanket term of go like what you like, go and choose
there's no wrong answer, despite that music teacher who told you that you can't play the guitar in a certain way.
But then again, she views it in a different way, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that she was wrong with that music teacher was wrong. Absolutely not. But that's how she views music should be. Yeah. And that, for me,
just like Conservatives and Labour believe that society should be a certain way.
Yeah.
So there are these differences, but there has to be sort of through lines and things that connect.
And I think
the gaps, right?
I think it is that,
and I feel like that is art.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the thing is, it's the ability of choice. What's one man's garbage is another man's treasure. Like,
totally, yeah.
And I think for me,
what is sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
I was just gonna say, what for me, I think that as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing when it comes to my music, then nobody can turn around and go, "Oh, your music's terrible." Great. Cool, you think my music's bad?
Listen to something else.
Like, you have the option to go listen to something else, but I'm producing something that makes me feel better.
And that doesn't, if somebody says your music's bad, that doesn't affect you at all.
Of course not.
No.
No.
Because you're secure enough in your
it's not even that.
ability.
I go, if I was like, I've had a woman before come up to me and goes, I don't really like your music. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, you know, first and foremost, I appreciate you listening and taking the time out. But, like, I'll sort of sit there and go, okay, oh, great, who'd you listen to? And she go, oh, so and so. And so I was like, oh, brilliant, send me their stuff over. I'll have a gander. Like, and it's broadening my spectrum. Just because she doesn't like my music doesn't make her a bad person. No. Like, she has, and I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. They go, oh, well, they don't like my music. I used to be like that. I used to be where, like, oh my God, they don't like my music. Why don't they like my music?
Yeah.
What, like, why? And then I realised, you know what? They are allowed that. Not everyone is going to.
Was there a turning point when that happened, or that you can remember?
Was there a turning point when that happened? I don't think so. I think actually, yeah, there was, and it wasn't me being, pardon the word, bitchy.
Why is that a pun?
Pardon the word, not the pun. Okay. But for me, it was. There was I wasn't very popular in school. I wasn't. And
a lot of arty kids, aren't they?
Yeah, but there was a moment where there was a very popular person. I won't give away their gender or their age or anything.
It was
like
Steve,
that.
wasn't it?
It was
fucking Steve.
Fucking Steve. But there was I just played a huge show. I think I'd just come off tour. I'd played a show or something, and this person from years ago that would rip the shit out of me, like he would there we go. I'm just giving away his gender, or she, we know.
There's like how many male human beings in the world?
But he would.
You know who you are if you listen.
Ruin me. He would
ruin you.
Me. But he would.
It was that bad.
It was that bad. Like he would be absolutely awful to me. Like rip into me every day. So much so that they would put me in bins at school. They would pick me up and put me in the bin.
That's awful.
It's the way of life.
No, it's not, man. Because I used to know a kid. I didn't do it myself, but I was sort of in the crowd that did that to that kid.
Yeah.
Right. And I saw him sort of after we left school, and I just sort of went up to him and I was like, mate, I'm so sorry that I was such a dickhead to you.
But this is what I'm saying to you, but that's growth, that's development. But
it is, yeah.
But like I was saying,
so what happened with the guy coming up to you?
Well, I played this big show, and he came up to me and he was like, oh, dude, I really love your stuff. I'm trying to get into the music thing. And I was sort of sat there going, I could be a dick. I really could be a dick. But I was like, listen, mate, do this X, Y, and Z, but I'm leaving you to your own devices. Not because I'm holding a grudge against him.
Just because you played this massive show and you've got better things going on.
It was me that was... I was sort of sat there going, you know what? That growth comes from whether or not people are going to like me or not. And that's the thing. I'm not doing it. Because if it was me, I should have been excited. I should have been absolutely buzzed that this person that was horrific to me in school turned around and 6 or 7 years later was like, oh my God, I love your music. Well,
a lot happens in 6 or 7 years, doesn't it?
But the thing is, but I realised I should have been at 6. If somebody told me 6 or 7 years ago that was going to happen, I would have been like, oh my God, he likes me. Oh my God, he's not going to be a dick to me. But it happened. When that moment happened where it was 6 or 7 years ago and he was like, I love you. 6 or 7 years later, he's like, I love your music. And I was like, cool, thanks, dude. But it had no adverse effect. It didn't change how I felt, right? Because I realised that, great, you like my music, you hated it before, but I feel no different to you hating my music or to you liking my music.
Right, okay.
Yes, it was nice to hear, don't get me wrong, and I'm very grateful that
I suppose it's nice to hear when anyone likes
exactly. But when somebody had that much of an effect on your life when you were younger, when you were trying to almost prove yourself, I'm not out to prove myself to people. I'm out to write music for me. I'm out to write music for my own therapy. And at the same time, if one person, if two people, for example, 707 streams just alone this year on Spotify, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 707 people.
Yeah, if I get 200 people listening to this, I'm cashed, yeah.
But that's what I mean. But if those 200 people are listening and there's one person that goes, you know what? Yeah, I get this. Mm-hmm. That's one person more in the world that feels comforted, feels happy. And I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for myself. And yes, that may seem selfish, but at the same time, you know what?
It's not selfish.
Art is my therapy, but if I can touch other people with my therapy, you know what? That is a win in itself.
I feel like fundamentally what it is sort of the power of ideas, essentially, because everything starts from an initial place of an initial idea, you know, and you know, it can be the smallest, most minuscule, insignificant thing that can go on to literally change the world, or not even change the world, but change somebody's life, or change somebody's day, or make someone smile. And to me, that is, you know, and having been through all these mental health problems, been suicidal, and been, you know, going through all these mad things before you even turn 17, you know, and you go through all these experiences, and I am brought to tears regularly by that concept that you can start with nothing. You can start with the absolute minimal concept of a shade of an idea, and that can go on to
definitely, without a doubt. And that's how I think it forms with anything, like any sort of form of art will start with, like, if there's a song called Romeo which starts like that, but when I sat down to write Romeo, I didn't realise I was going to write Romeo. I didn't have a plan. All I had was, I played that and I was like, okay, that's a nice chord. What goes with that?
What is it? A minor.
A minor. E. And then, I don't know what that is. But it was... And there's voice clips. There's hundreds of voice clips on my phone of just one idea that's been reworked, rehashed. But it started by me just going... I was like... Okay, what can work with that? Okay, maybe that? No, that doesn't work. Does that work? No, that doesn't work. And it builds, but it comes from that first initial strum.
Cool.
So, and I think it's the same with anything. I think it's any sort of thought pattern, because then I sort of sit there and go, okay, this sounds like a quite upbeat love song. What can I make it about? Well, what have I just read? Oh, I just read Romeo and Juliet. Okay, cool, let's...
Do you spend a lot of time reading Shakespeare?
No.
So you just read Romeo and Juliet?
I just read it one day. I just read it. I was like, you know what? I feel like reading a book. And I'd read Harry Potter like 900 times. I was like, okay, let's... And I'd read
Romeo and Juliet
and Lord of the Rings. I was like, you know what? I'll just read a bit of old school.
Would you... I know this is a lot to ask. I know I'm taking the piss. And I'm very, very grateful that you would come and speak to me today.
That's fine.
Would you attempt, if you could, just for my own amusement,
sure,
an impromptu song about The Hobbit?
I mean, I could try.
Would you attempt that?
I could.
For me and the audience.
I mean, I could. I'm really good. I'm going to say really so sorry.
You don't have to. Like, you don't have to. Just for my own joy.
So, I don't know. Let's see. In the lands of the Shire, there was a boy all alone. His uncle's birthday showed the fire in his heart for his desire. And Gandalf thought it was time to take Frodo by his side.
This is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
And all of those memories are about to fly. And so all of those miles they walked to Rivendell, formed the ring to support the journey.
Better call him.
I'm not.
Shit. I ruined it. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
It's alright. It's fine.
That was beautiful.
There you go.
Oh, mate. Wow.
I have no idea what that was.
That's incredible that you can just come up with that. That's incredible. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Literally, you've made my day. I don't know how long we've got. Did you say you're going to go for 3?
I could probably stay for 5
Do you
more.
want to stay for 5 more minutes?
Yeah,
All right,
stay
cool.
for 5 more.
What do you want to talk about for 5 minutes, man?
It's up to you. Well, you know what? If you want, you can have a live version of a song.
If you would want to.
What song would you like to hear?
Let's do Romeo, because I said that's my favourite.
Yeah,
We talked about it a little bit.
Definitely Romeo could work. Seeing as we had a good chat about the backstory.
Oh, mate, this has been great. Thank you so
That's
much.
alright. Oh, hello. Let's get this all tuned up. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, hello. There we go.
Imagine you doing an impromptu song about the Orbit.
It's not bad. Anyway, yeah, Romeo.
Cool.
La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Oh, oh, oh. I've read Shakespeare, and I know Romeo. This won't be easy. But you're my home, and I'll get angry. And yes, we'll fight, but we'll work through this and come out alright. 'Cause you still drive me crazy after all these years. And I'm loving you despite all of your fears. And baby, if you need me, then let me know. 'Cause I'll be glad to put my love on show. And hey there, Juliet. It's nice to finally meet you where you've been hiding. 'Cause God, I miss you and I feel crazy for wishing to speak to you. And yes, I hate it, but that's all down to you. 'Cause you still drive me crazy after all these years. And I'm loving you despite all of your fears. Baby, if you need me, then let me know. 'Cause I'll be glad to put my love on show. I'll put my love on show. My love on show. My love on show. 'Cause all that I have are these 6 strings and piece of wood to help comfort me when life gets a little too rough. And if you have ever chosen to give up hope, just stop and remember that you yourself are a rock. No, 'cause you still drive me crazy after all these years. I'm loving you despite all of your fears. And baby, if you need me, then let me know. I'll be glad to be your Romeo. 'Cause you still drive me crazy after all these years. And I'm loving you despite all of your fears. And baby, if you need me, then let me know. 'Cause I'll be glad to put my love on show. I'll put my love on show. I'll be your Romeo. I'll put my love on show. I'll be your Romeo.
Mad Truth Podcast.
Woo!
Adam Zareba.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Peace.
Peace.